Ahmed, thank you so much for being with us today. I think you're a great leader, but also a great friend. You're someone who have been clearly on the forefront of AI, both within MAF, but honestly, even publicly.
Well, first of all, I thank you for inviting me. Delighted to be here. Always happy having this conversation with you. It's always an absolute pleasure to exchange ideas and thoughts with you.
So it would be a good conversation to see your perspective on what's next and how MAF is leveraging of it, and honestly your thought leadership about this. But let me start by saying, in multiple previous conversations between me and you, we spoke about that this AI transformation is not a technology transformation. It's very much a leadership transformation. Is when organizations are reinventing themselves around how can they capitalize the opportunities coming from AI, and look at areas where they almost redesign their business model around this. What does and how does reinvention mean for MAF? How it's going, and where do you see really the great opportunities that you're seeing MAF leveraging from this AI era?
Let me first start by saying that reinvention for us at Majid Al Futtaim takes a quite prominent feature given where we are as an organization. We're finishing our third decade. Thankfully, in peak condition and peak performance. We're stepping into our fourth decade at a time when the world around us has changed and is changing very fast because of technology, because of AI, because of customer changing their demands, as well as stepping into that fourth decade for the first time without our founder. And that for us means that we need to almost refound the organization. So that refounding process is as much a personal as it is a corporate movement. It starts with leaders understanding what is important for them, what really drives them, what are their own values, be very clear about that, and be very open then to understand new technologies, new models, unlearn perhaps methods of the past. The biggest thing we need to perhaps unlearn as an organization today for a founder-led organization is where in the past, a lot of the strategic direction and innovation was top-down. We need to change our leadership model to not rely on a founder or an owner, but to make every MAFer a founder and an owner within their own sphere. So part of it is retraining myself, my team, and the entire organization to act as owners of their own business within Majid Al Futtaim. The other big change that we're seeing and we're trying to affect is a rethink of what we consider as the capital of the organization. Traditionally, we looked at financial capital, human capital, and customer capital as the sources of value creation. We need to invest in our people, invest in our customer relationship. There is a new type of capital that we're now accumulating. It's intellectual capital. It's the collective of all of our data assets, algorithms, AI agents, and that intellectual capital needs to be nurtured, needs to be protected, and we need to extract value from it. Same way we do with our financial capital, allocate it very deliberately, be very clear about where do we spend our data assets and how do we spend them and what type of return we get out of them.
Take basic examples on today when we go into meetings and then we start discussing financial results or a certain type of performance metric. And we used to historically look at those Excel sheets and PowerPoint presentation. And today my first question is, before anyone gives me an answer, let's ask Copilot, and then let's take that as a baseline of what you want to do. Those small things about how do you change your thinking on a daily basis set the stone for the whole organization. And I think that reinvention that you're going through, that Microsoft is going through, that every organization is going through, it starts from leadership. We see it day in and day out. When that strategic pillar of AI sits at the CEO, at the board agenda, we're seeing traction, we're seeing change, we're seeing organization moving forward, like what's happening with Majid Al Futtaim. And when this is being left to technology teams, assuming that's a technology program, honestly, the not only it's not moving, but the cost of doing this is proving to be very high with not clear results.
So let me ask you this, Naim. You've obviously been with Microsoft for a number of years. And you've seen multiple shifts. You've seen the shift to the cloud and now the transformation around AI. How do you see both transformations? What's common between them and what's different about this new phase of reinvention for you?
Look, what's common is change. And I think addressing change in general is not very different in terms of the concept of unlearning and old stuff, learning new stuff, and as leaders be at the front line. Because the organization is going to look at you as a leader to say, how are you behaving? If they're seeing you're really embracing that new transformation, you're at the forefront line of it, you're putting your KPIs and the company KPIs around those new transformation, then everyone will follow. If they see you only talk about it, but at the end of the day, you don't walk the talk around putting the right KPIs, ensuring people are measured on those new KPIs of transformation, you're going to lose credibility. So that kind of transformation, whether cloud or AI, is very common. I think what's different on this AI transformation is speed. The cloud transformation, it took a good 10 years for customers to start saying it does make sense. It started 2006, 2007. Honestly, only 2017, 18 where the momentum started. The AI transformation started 3 years back, only 3 years back. Already today, things have gone so fast that people are saying if we're not on the train, we're off the train. So that pace and the mindset is that I cannot get everything perfect. I need to get on the train, learn on the way, and honestly try things. Some things will succeed, other things will fail. Requires some courage that organizations that are having it will succeed, and organizations that are going to say, let's wait until things are getting perfect, then we jump on the train. I think they're going to be irrelevant very, very soon.
I mean, coding is one of the early areas where we've seen significant efficiency gains by the adoption of AI. And across our engineering teams, we see that this is obviously given a big efficiency boost, sometimes up to 60, 70%. But what it's fundamentally doing is changing the role of the programmers and the engineering teams. It's giving them more time and more latitude, not just to deliver code faster, but to think about new features, new user experiences, etc. So it almost has this compounding effect. In marketing, for instance, we started now adopting AI more and more in content creation, advertising copies, and that's freeing up very valuable market resources to do a lot more creative thinking about new products, new experiences that we offer. So I think the value of AI in driving efficiency has this cascading event that is sometimes underestimated. Beyond that, I think for an organization like ours to be able to move at the right scale and the right pace, we need to invest in both the hard and the soft infrastructure around AI. The hard infrastructure is our data. We need to make sure we have clean, robust data assets that can train the models, can be used as an input into whatever problem we're trying to solve. And we've invested a lot in making sure that this data asset is treated as a new type of capital within the company that is protected, grown, and nurtured. And then there is a soft infrastructure around leadership capabilities and all of that. And that requires investment in retraining many of our executives, including myself and my team, through our newly established AI Academy, bringing in new talent who are AI native into the organization to be able to infuse a different type of thinking and approach. And that mix of hard and soft infrastructure will allow us ultimately to, I would say, democratize the use of AI. Because if the data infrastructure is there and the skills and capabilities are there to apply AI to these data sets, it means that every team can decide anywhere within the organization what is the problem where AI can help them solve it faster, get better insights, or perhaps create new experiences and products.
Then I come to the data piece, and I keep on saying, and I will continue to say, any AI strategy without a foundational data architecture that is solid is loss of money, loss of resources, will get you nowhere. So making sure that you have the right data architecture is definitely going to be key. And the third one, and I keep on telling every leader and every organization, AI is not there to be a fancy technology that we use it on small things. AI is there to tackle the big problems. As an organization, try to be clear on what are the 3, 4 big problems you're tackling. What are the 4, 5 new big products you want to go after? Put AI behind it. That's where you're going to see benefit from AI. Because I see a paranoia today at this point of time. We're doing that POC, we're not seeing ROI. This is so new to start being able to measure ROI the traditional way today. That's why the more you put AI behind the big problems. But if we tackle 5 big problems and we solve 2, that's a way better result than trying to go after 20 POCs and succeeding in 3.
So you obviously work with many organizations around the region and globally. And you would appreciate that many of your clients are under pressure, either from shareholders, from the market, or their boards to show progress on AI. Why do you think some organizations get stuck into this pilot trap?
Yeah, first, like anything new, people want to try. I think that's very much okay. The problem is overdoing it. Look, it reminds me in the early 2000s when everyone got excited about e-services. It was very new. Everyone put a website and they wanted to start selling their product online. It took 10 to 15 years to go mainstream. Most of the people that were ahead of their time did not get the ROI quickly, but the people that did not do it went out of business. So here's the thin line of, do I get paranoid about ROI now? And if I don't get the ROI, I don't do it, and then I get the risk of being obsolete in a few years? Or you know what? I know that this is the future. There is hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars being invested. Obviously, some people are investing it for a reason. So let me put AI behind those fewer, bigger problems. And as I said, rather than going after 20 pilots, maybe I do 5. I will succeed in 2, 3. I'll fail in 2, 3. But even the ones I'll fail, I'm going to learn. The organization will get better. But also there are some low-hanging fruits.
One is certainly around data security, customer privacy, and you need to make sure that you very quickly evolve your policy frameworks to provide clear guidance for the teams about what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and make sure that you have first, second, and third lines of defense that protect, this new set of capital that we talk about, whether data, AI, algorithms, and agents. One thing that we also need to be very clear about is, regardless whether you are using AI to promote efficiency or to help you make a decision, the accountability sits with us. There is also a practical consideration when you're doing anything new. People will make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And systems will sometimes behave in an unintended way. And if you have the right culture where staff are confident to speak up, the system and the leadership has the tolerance to absorb honest mistakes and deal with it in a transparent and fair manner. That is one of the biggest safeguards.
Yeah.
I was reading yesterday that a IT enthusiast somewhere in the US wanted to connect his vacuum cleaner to his PlayStation, to be able to control the vacuum cleaner with the PlayStation controller. And he inadvertently, by hacking his own vacuum, hacked into 7,000 vacuum cleaners all over the world, where he had access to the camera, access to the floor plans, etc. That is bound to happen in any environment.
This is where trust play a big role, because we can say whatever we want to say. We need to walk the talk and showing organizations that we're not leveraging the data to make any model better. We're leveraging the data to make the way they use the model better. And I keep on saying that culture of trust has to be built within the organization, because any employee, any leader can go and do all the wrong things. We just trust our people that they will not do it. And the more that trust and accountability culture is going to be there in an AI era, the more is going to be very, very critical because, as I said, specifically when you're on the tech side and when you're a technology company, the, the, the whole business model is built about trust. We serve the whole world through an interconnected AI infrastructure. It takes one mistake to ruin your reputation. And we've seen that over and over. And that's why I keep on saying it's so crucial that we do the right things every day. And when we do mistakes, we will go upfront and say we did a mistake because we will make mistakes. Like no one will be perfect. We're going into an era where everyone is trying. The problem is that if you do those mistakes and you don't talk about them, you're going to lose trust completely. So I think that era of ensuring that trust is there, that responsible AI is being developed in the right way, that security is at the core of everything you do is going to be key for organizations and honestly for countries as we evolve.
So on that topic of trust, which is a broad agenda, there is obviously a deficit of trust in the world today. Different countries thinking about their own models, sovereign AI. Companies are very protective of their own data assets. Customers are weary. The workforce, is struggling to understand the impact of AI on long-term employment. So you must get asked a ton of trust questions all the time.
Yeah.
What is the toughest one that you've had to confront?
Look, I think there's many, but as I said, I think the toughest one is that today, because of the how fast people are going mainstream on AI, they want to know if we as a technology company are going to leverage their data in the wrong way. Every company, they want to ensure that the level of trust they're putting in Microsoft is good enough that we're going to do what is good for them. And we are honestly responding not only technologically, but honestly we're responding even through legal frameworks that gives our customers all the confidence that we will not use their data except to their own interest, that their data is not going to be shared.
You can almost think about it as integrative intelligence, meaning that as AI takes more and more of the responsibility of quantitative number crunching and trend analysis, and perhaps even evolve more towards also emotional sort of intelligence with a bit more EQ training and all of that, the role of leaders is really to be able to connect the dots. AI algorithms and agents will have very specific domain expertise, and the role of any leader within the organization is to have that integrative capability and intelligence to be able to bridge the physical and the digital, the organic as well as the artificial intelligence, connect teams with agents. And that is a new skill that will have to be acquired and nurtured in order for leaders to be able to succeed in this new environment. The other one is it forces leaders to actually let go. I mean, sometimes as leaders, we overestimate our own level of influence and control. In a highly interconnected world and fast-moving environment, we need to be comfortable to give a lot of freedom to our teams within clear frameworks. And by the way, when I say teams, this applies to physical or organic teams as well as future agents. As long as the framework is very clear, you need to give the teams the freedom to operate within that framework. And you also need to give them the ability to come back to you and challenge that framework. So that framework continues to evolve. So it's not a fixed frame for years. That framework continues to evolve to avail the right freedom for the business to deliver the right outcomes. The team to really move at pace in a world that's changing so fast.
Yeah, and look, this is exactly, I think, where the world is going. I think the biggest skill set requires for leadership in the next age is going to be how much do you bring a culture of collaboration? Because the reality is you're going to have your teams, you're going to have an unlimited number of digital agents that does basic stuff but very complicated stuff. All of that ecosystem have to work with each other. Then you have your ecosystem in terms of supplier, partners, customer, they all have to come together. And this is a new era, a new era that I think we all need to learn and unlearn. And I think sometimes unlearning is more difficult than learning, because learning new stuff is exciting. Unlearning new stuff is very uncomfortable, specifically when you've been used to doing a certain thing. And we're trying nowadays in interesting stuff. I think we're trying nowadays in Microsoft to be like almost crisp about what is it that we will unlearn. Like you go into a process of a new product evaluation. In that whole process, where are the pinpoints that we have to unlearn what we used to do? Because if you're not intentional about it, it's not easy. I mean, suddenly now we realize you have almost an uncontrolled level of agent evolution. Um, Interesting enough, every organization, without exception, if you enable some technology that allows you to see the actual number of agents that run into the organization, they'll be 10 times what you think you have. So if you think you have 1,000 agents, I can assure you have 10,000 agents running. Probably there's 9,000 you're not even, and you don't know about them. And that's very true, because users are not waiting. They're using tools from all over the world to develop those agents. So getting that whole new ecosystem and mastering how it works together, we all need to learn it. I don't think anyone wrote the playbook yet. We will all write it in the future on how digital agents and the human will work with each other. And I think it takes me to the core of that notion that human will work with machine. It's not either or.
But I found that it actually has deep roots in our culture and deep roots in almost traditional wisdom. Galal ad-Din al-Rumi has a famous saying that, yesterday I was clever and I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise and I want to change myself. So this whole notion of unlearning and evolving or refounding yourself, whatever you want to call it, seems to have, deep sort of mystical and sort of cultural roots. So maybe on a personal note, Naim, what have you personally had to unlearn, that the most difficult thing you've had to unlearn as your career has progressed with Microsoft and you've gone through a number of reinventions with the firm?
Look, there's, I think, a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing that I had to unlearn is when someone comes to me with a problem with a recommendation that is not based on data. I previously I always used to allow conversation. I think with time I unlearned to stop conversation when any decision is not data factual, that are ready for leadership roles versus betting on people that have the potential. I think I'm unlearning the fact that we need to bet on people that are ready for the jobs, and I'm learning that we need to bet on people that have the potential, because people have the potential in majority of the cases will do much better than people that only have already for roles. There's lots of things we need to unlearn, but those are some of the things. On the tactical element, I'm unlearning every single day when I look at my day, allowing myself to plan the day without asking Copilot to plan it for me. It looks small, but it's interesting how it changed your perspective, because when you start practicing every day, it helps you. You almost have a companion that now you trust more and more every day, that it will help you plan the day in a better way.
Fantastic.
What about you, by the way?
Listen, in terms of unlearning, it has been an ongoing journey. I think it's an essential piece of leadership development and personal development. I've unlearned sort of the need to be in control. I've unlearned the urge to be in a lot of rooms and to learn how sometimes being not in the room is gives the license to the team and gives the space for the team to take better decisions and more accountability for the outcomes.
Interesting, because when you spend time with them, for them to kind of almost coach you, and they don't have the experience, but they have different thinking, they open your mind on a lot of things that you need to learn to deal with them, because what we know and learn won't work with them at all. So I think some of those things have been fascinating on how they work and how they accelerate that area. But I can tell you in general, the unlearning development is, I think, is going to be ongoing. I don't think we're going to be at one point of time where we are going to say, now we unlearned all the wrong things. I think we live at an area where every day we need to unlearn new things. And I think the more we continue to have that mindset of we always have ways to be better off unlearning things before we learn new things, I think we'll always get better.